Yemen?
My bar mitzvah today. Oh. Thank you, Yanni.
Huh? Great. How'd you know? Come. How you doing? Awesome.
Yaakov,
Yeah.
where are we supposed to go? Or where
Here's the dining room's right here. That's where we're gonna be. We're just gonna down Mitzvah, which is behind there. Right here, these round buildings.
Yeah, that's the dining room.
That's it.
Aspen up.
Huh? This used to be a space here. I'm not.
we have big apartments. Half an hour to get here.
Moses at the end of the Megillah, the Mishnah says that somebody says that he's Makdish, Buddha B'kizeh Hekdesh. That Buddha, he had coins in his pocket and he says, well, Buddha should become Hekdesh. Buddha shows he's on the Shayna Law, he's Rabbi Kiva. As soon as he spends it, forgot about it that he was Makdish of Buddha, and he took a Buddha out of his pocket, amongst many other Buddhas, and he spent it, he's already loyal to Hekdesh. Give it Rabbi Kiva. So since we don't know which Buddha is Hekdesh, you can say which one is particular. He has to spend all the money that's in his pocket, then he's first moil, because amongst all the Buddhas, there must be one Buddha which is Hekdesh. Rabbi Kiva says the first one is Hekdesh. We saw when the first one is Hekdesh. And he's moil. Moil Rabbi Kiva Chachamim, moil Buddha, and it is a Hekdesh, and moil moil Hekdesh Kolakis. Rabbi Kiva's moil, in case he said, Buddha in Kizeh Hekdesh, but Buddha from this case should be Hekdesh, that he could spend all the money until he gets to the last Buddha, then he's first one. Master Kasha that motion that he says, Pluto Mukizah Hegdish, that he means to be Magdish, the last Pluto, the Sophic, the last Pluto's Hegdish, the Glow asks at the end, Apoplo Oma Kisin Alugin Omo. The Shai, which is Kasha, the Gashmot Shas Kabyochanon, on this Mishnah, Apoplo said he asked the Kasha of Lugin. When the case was, the Snan al-Kech Yami Ben Akusim, if somebody took wine from Kusim, Sweden at that time, and he had no time to be mafresh, it's terrible, he had no time to be mafresh tumas and meises, so he says, Shnei lugin shani osa sahafresh arein tumah. Can't take out now 2 lugin, but he says, 2 lugin shalein, I'll be mafresh, they'll be tumah, and what's left, the 10th of it I saw, meise rishoy, he makes it into meiser for the Leib, and what's left, he takes Teisha, there's 90 left, 90 chalokim left, so a 10th of that, which is 9 chalokim, he makes meiser sheni, and the meiser sheni, since he has an answer that he could be paid, he could be miyachal right away, so he's machal right away, Bechel to show him yet, and he's machal the meiser sheni, and he could drink the whole wine, and he has to leave over enough for the tumah and for the meiser. Those were all Yeshu Reva, that we were barred, whatever, later on in his barred, this is what he made Tumah in the first place, and this is what he made Meiser. And on that smart, he could drink the wine. It's Chulim. From Yehudah, Rav Yossi, Rav Shimon, they say he cannot do it. Just the question is that the first, what you're drinking is already you're drinking Tumah, it's mixed in, and therefore you're not allowed to drink any of it. So Rashi says the Kashi was from Rav Yehudah, Rav Yossi, Rav Shimon, all the Impreiros, and all the Impreiros, and Rav Akiva says, right, if he says the kids there, the Plutos of the kids there should be Hagdish, so how could you spend all the money? Maybe the first one you take, Impreiro, is Hagdish already. So that was Rish Lakish's Kashi. So Yossi told him, Oman, they say for the Masnisim, Oman, the Yiftor, he said in Hagdish. He said in Russian that this case, this particle of change should not be potter, should not be exempt from Hegdish. In other words, what he's saying is the last puta should be Hegdish. In other words, I shouldn't spend all the money, 1 puta at least should be Hegdish. So maybe he has in mind to be Magdish the last puta, and that's the first part is Chulim, and there Rabbi Kiva is the way there that he could spend everything till the last puta. Adon Allah Hashniya Shas Shnegusa Yislik Lem Sef Mila Adon Allah Hashniya Shas Shnegusa Yislik Lem Sef Mila Adon Allah Hashniya Shas Shnegusa Yislik Lem Sef Mila Adon Allah Sef Mila Adon Allah Daiter Allah Sef Mila Daiter Allah Lo Nisnash Mila Sef Mila Lo Nisnash Mila Gam Modern Gam Rossi Adon Allah Sef Mila Adon Allah Daiter Allah Sef Mila Daiter Allah Lo Nisnash Mila Sef Mila Lo Nisnash Mila Gam Modern Gam Rossi Adon Allah Sef Mila Halon, Daiter Allah Sef Mila Adon Daiter Allah Nisnash Mila Nisnash Mila Sef Mila Lo Nisnash Mila Lo Gam Modern Gam Rossi Lo Tzom Korach Adinoi Lo Enu Ea Husseinu Shteinu Rosu Unoseinu Lo Enu Mazel Shteinu Lo Enu Mabo Anino Ba'Kop, Robi Ba'Kop, Nago Ba'Kop, Achai Ba'Kop, Abomori Ba'Kop, Rafon Ba'Kop, Rokish Ba'Kop, Soshmo Ba'Kop, Ado Ba'Kop, Dolo Ba'Kop. I have no idea what is different to research of the city with Kias Amko Basic Soil, B'nei Klon Anakno Tzeitzreinu Tzeitzreinu for Basic Soil Klonim Yodishmech V'Dei Sa'osaro. ואוי תחכמנו מצויסה ומבואי לו מילים, דיני ביטורים וחוקר ובד מורי בויש, אוי לו אשכה פיקודר כיבום פיקסונים. ברוך התורה דינוי למדנו חוקפו, אומן צלו בואי. אוי למנחנו לכם חתינו ראינו ועושינו ששמתו חלקנו ביושו ויסמדש, ושמתו חלקנו יש בקודש, אנו משקימו והם משקימו, אנו משקימו דיב וכתוב והם משקימו דרום בדלים, עונמנו ומנקה במסחר, והם עמנו ואינו מנקה במסחר. אנו רוצים לחיינו מבוא, והם רוצים לפי שחר, שנינו בתור אליהם תורידה, ולפי שחר זמן שדוב ימינו, ויחס וימינו ואני אפתח בו. כי רצון ופנח אדינוי אלוהי כשם שזכתן וסיים וספטר מאילו, כן תעזרנו לעזקן וספטר סמור בחיירים, וסיינו לדימו לעולמי, לשמור בלסוס בקיים וספטים וסתנו כרסר שיעבור, וסוס כל התנוי והמרואים ותמיד הכל מים מוליד לזרי, שתובו שעתוי מפיל זרי, וזר זרי עד עולם. This is Kai Bibi Salach, before Tantra, with some Bishop, what is Molacha, with the Tzoy City Sikefa. The Bibi Gu Yomach, with Sim for Shnois Chaim, Earth Yom, we know this Melo, Shet Kovel, and Mavil, and Moitela, and שנכבו, ועושים ניסה חדוש ובחיון ישראל לעסוק על חיי עמו, ובבני קרתו בירושלים ומשחלל וכולי בגברו, ובקרת פולחונו וזכרו בירמו, ולעסוקו פולחונו נשמעי לעשכם, יחליף קודשו פליטו במלכוסי נקורי, וחיי יכולים גם יכולים וחיי לכל בית ישראל, והגלו בזמן קריב ותנו אמן. וישתבח וישבוע וישממה וישנסי ויסעדו ויסעלם ויסעלום שמי קודשו ויחיו ואילו מכל בכנסו ושיבנסו ושבנסו ולחם עשו דמילות בעולמו ויפגעו אמן כל ישראל ורבנון ועל תלמידי ועל כל תלמידי סלמידי הוי ועל כל מנדוסקים ברייס ושיבסו דיני בכל עשה ועשה אין רואים חורים שלמה רבו חינוך תתלו ברחם וחיי אריכי וזורם ביחי וקדום מקדום רבוני ושמעיו ויעבור ויפגעו אמן יש שלמה רבו ושמעיו וחיים טובים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויפגעו אמן וזה שלום וברימו ויעשה ברחמו שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויפגעו אמן
logistics, as you can imagine. We had to meet about 200 people. They had to rearrange the schedule even earlier. That wasn't too hard because last night most of the kids stayed up all night. They were tired this morning. But anyways, it takes a lot of effort, time and effort, and working out with the meal also. We appreciate very much. I appreciate very much the opportunity, the message that has given us, our family, the last 6 seasons, to be here in camp and do the job of being here, which is much different than they're during the year. Also, we appreciate your friendship very, very much. So thank you very much. Also, a real sincere thank you to Rabbi and Mrs. Stott, who not only had to feed the 200 people here, they also had to prepare this student present. I'd like to call upon the Bar Mitzvah to say a few words of Chaverim.
There's a machlokas about the meaning of these words as we will further explain. Yehudah clearly explains these words in talking about his throne and said, Yamim Hol sit on the throne during the days and not the night. Yamim Hol some from the days and not all the time. The Shabbos was beyond you. This excludes the Shabbos beyond you. The way of Rabbi Yehudah, this is the opinion of Rabbi Yehudah. The Rabbi Akiva said, don't have no who can do our Pesach first. The topic is only talking about Pesach. Rabbi Akiva learns one should not read the Torah on Shabbos and Yom in the Pasuk of V'hayol ha'os al yadecha with open close to the neck. It should be a sign on your hand and an ornament between your eyes. This excludes wearing flowers on Shabbos and Yom because they are already in oath. The big matter is the difference between the opinion of Yehudah and that of Rabbi Akiva. Even though they both agree that Shabbos and Yom Tov are not times of flowers, according to Rabbi Yehudah, the pasuk of Schwartz shows that it is also to flow on Wednesday nights when on Shabbos and Yom Tov. This is because the word Schwartz are always implied in history, either an ashay or a rose. But according to Rabbi Akiva, who said that the process of Schwartz and referring to Pesach are learning Shabbos and Yom Tov from V'hayol ha'os, there is not an Islam where there is but rather there is no chiyuv, because it is not Yisrael. It is a support of the Mitzvah of Torah. There is also a Gemara in Zayah that tests one that will concur with the opinion of Rabbi Akiva, that it not also to wear the Torah, but there is no chiyuv in the Torah. The Gemara states, if Sheshes shall live the Chaverim from beyond the Torah, if Sheshes permitted Darvana to ascend from one another, Amrei Abaye Mahanam Tanon, Kol Sheniusim B'Uriyusim B'Shalchanos. Abaye, doesn't our Mishnah say everything that can be used on Yom Tov is then sin, but everything you don't use on Yom Tov cannot be sin? This would be like garbage. This would be like throwing baskets things is not covered on Yom Tov because it is an oath. The Gemara answers, Hachi Kama, Kol Sheyusim Kol B'Shalchanos Yom Tov. It means that anything which is ready for use, finished on Yom Tov, can be sent on Yom Tov. We see from the Sheshes that he must be going like Rabbi Akiva, who said that throwing on Yom Tov is not possible, rather not necessary. If not, how could Rabbi Sheshes permit them to be thrown? They should be thrown immortal. The obvious way he is thrown according to the opinion of Rabbi Akiva. Now let us see how the Rambam asks in this way. In Hilchos Tzorim, Parak Dalet, Rambam says, Ma'ani Hilchos Tzorim Yom Below the line, Shenamar Yom. Time to put on tzorim is that day, and not night, because it said Yom Yom. Chukah Zini Mitzvah, and this is Gemara. This part of the halacha is really the dinner of Yehudah, who states that the pasuk of Schwartz is referring to throwing, not to Pesach. This would be fine, but the next part of the Rambam throws us off. He said, V'chein Shabbos Yom Tov Eino Zman Tov. And also Shabbos Yom Tov aren't the time to throw. Shenamar said, V'hayol ha'os. There will be a time. The Shabbat of Yom Tov means obstacles. The Shabbos and Yom Tov they themselves are enemies. This is certainly the opinion of Rabbi Akiva, who says we don't wait for it on Shabbat because it is an oath. We don't need an extra oath on Shabbat and Yom Tov. How can Rambam pass an oath like the Yehudah and Rabbi Akiva as they have no machlokas? The Kesef Mishnah gives the following answer. There is a brisa in the Sechus Menachos that Parman brought from the page that says the following. Until when do we without war? The Tanakh says in 12 months. And Yaakov says until the month of Pesach. The Chachamim say in Talmud, they agree with Rabbi Yaakov that if a person would take off his garment and sunset occurs, he should not put them back on. We see in this lesson that all the Tanakh agree that violence is not as non-Israel. This is the opinion which agrees with that of the Chaverim, who learns his sister to which from the pasuk of Schwartz learns in the days of night. Don't pass on it Rabbi Akiva when he argues with the majority opinion. Rabbi Akiva mechavero v'lo mechavero. So we certainly don't like these Tanakh opinions with regards to not letting people in at night. On the other hand, everyone agrees that Shabbos and Yom Kippur is not a time of fun. It is only my focus about where we know. This my focus is between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yossi. In this my focus we ask like Rabbi Akiva Mechavero. He is only arguing with one of them. And this answers the question in the Rambam. The Rambam goes by the majority opinion of the Rabbanim, who say that night is not a time. But when it comes to the halacha of putting on the dawn, on Shabbos and Yom Kippur, it goes like Rabbi Akiva, who argues with Rabbi Yossi. So therefore, it is Rabbi Akiva Mechavero. The Shabbos Ayah has a different type of stance for the question of the Rambam. In truth, the Shabbos Ayah says that Yosef really also means the pasuk of the Hayati comes to teach us that it is also to wear the bell and on Yom. We might have thought in the word Yom that means some days and not all days, and it is excluding only Shabbos, but not Yom. This is because the Kedusha of Shabbos is so much greater than that of Yom. The pasuk of the Hayati comes to say even Yom presents because it is also a miracle. Therefore, the pasuk of the Hayati is explaining beyond from the days no older and not all the days which are known, Shabbos and Yom Kippur. With this reaching the narrative now, he asking that flowing is also the light from the pasuk of Yom Kippur. But he also says that he was also to wear the film on Shabbos and Yom Kippur from the pasuk of the Hayati, which tells us both Shabbos and Yom Kippur are included in the extra film, the Schwartz of the Yom Kippur. Big map coming up. The Kesef Mishnah and the Shabbos are able to understand the model. This would be with the original case. Is it also to work on Shabbos or Yom Kippur, or is it just not that thing? According to the way the Kesef Mishnah works, the Rambam is the opinion of Rabbi Akiva, who would say that there is no issue just to be sure. But according to the way the Shabbos are able the Rambam, he is casting all the opinion of the who would say it is also on Shabbos. Because the pasuk of the Schwartz excludes both Shabbos and Yom. The Rambam in Parakeh Allah states that it is Muslim to stand government on Shabbos and Yom. This would fit very well according to the way the Kesef Mishnah would because the Rambam is wrong like the opinion of Rabbi Akiva, we learn that government on Shabbos and Yom is not also just the Torah. But according to the way the Shabbos are written, the Rambam is passing like Rabbi Yossi. Why would it be permitted to send the one Yom Kippur? This we will leave with the Sunday. I would like to thank Rabbi and Mrs. Nessie for hosting this Yehudah parliament. Thank you also for providing 6 days of great summer relaxation. It is always very exciting looking forward to a wonderful summer here in Canada. Also, I would like to thank Rabbi and Mrs. Stack for cooking a delicious and special meal in honor of my woman. Special thanks to my Leib for making the effort to come here tonight, and to all the guests who made a long trip from Baltimore to be here to share this meal. I would like to give special sato to Zadie, Stockton, and Uncle Shlomo for giving all their support and preparation for this wedding. Last but not least, Thank you to my mother and father, brothers and sisters, for being a role model and people who have helped me the most to reach this day. I hope that as Hashem, I will continue to grow in Torah and Yerushalayim. The nachas for my family, community, and all of
the Yehudah Leib has received, Baruch Hashem, started off in Atlanta, in Medina, and he moved up to, he came here, he went to first grade, and then he came here in Baltimore, TA, and started Rabbi's role. And then I think you had Rabbi Holland, Rabbi Dinowitz, Rabbi Holland, Rabbi Wheelcatch, Rabbi Riviat, and Rabbi Lemberg. So, we don't want to keep you clear all night, so we're not going to ask all of them to come and speak. But we would like, not only as a Rebbe, but kind of a representative, a little bit of yeshiva, which we have so much hearts and toes for learning with the teaching Yehudah. I'd like to ask Rabbi Lemberg to say a few words. Also, before Rabbi Lemberg comes up, I do want to mention Yehudah has prepared with our Mitzvah. He's Rosh Hashanah last year. He learned Mitzvah Makos. He learned with all spots. He used to go to Yeshiva 2 or 3 times a week, Yehudah. And Yehudah has Rosh Hashanah. He should only continue a love of learning. And when he used to leave the car and he used to drop off, he just walked to the base Medish. He used to run into the base Medish because he enjoyed the learning so much. And Halvai should continue that excitement for learning that you have. I'd like to call upon his Rebbe for this year, Rabbi Lemberg to say.
I'd like to begin by thanking you, Rav Yaakov, for inviting us here and having us here. It's an honor to be able to share a simcha together, especially in such pleasant surroundings, to see you so well rested in the Baruch's nature, amongst the trees, the chayas, and all the other things that Baruch created. And Baruch should give you kaiches because this is the easy end of what's coming on. It's not easy to speak to Bar Mitzvah in the middle of the summer when he's in camp because the middle of summer in camp. It's also not easy to speak Parshas Dvarim because Parshas Dvarim is Teichocha, you did this wrong, you did that wrong, you did this wrong, you did that wrong. And Baruch Hashem, till now, whatever you did wrong doesn't count. So, that's how you did wrong. But in the Parsha, after Moshe Rabbeinu mentions the Chetem Aragim, Yeshua B'nun Ha'imei L'Chonecho Hu Yavai Shom. Yeshua B'nun, he will be the person to lead the Bnei Yisrael in Eretz Yisrael. Says the Baal HaTurim, Yeshua B'nun Ha'imei L'Chonecho. What does it mean he's standing in front of you? Says the Baal HaTurim, he brings the Gemara and Brachos, Gedaila Shimusha Yisra Milimuna. That Shimush HaTorah, Yeshua Shimush HaTorah, was something greater than the Limud HaTorah itself. What was Yeshua's Shimush HaTorah? So the Medrash says in Parshas Pinchas, where Moshe Rabbeinu first heard the decree that he was not going to enter Eretz Yisrael, and he made a request. He asked HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I would like my children to lead the Bnei Yisrael into Eretz Yisrael. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, no. Amalei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Neitzer te'ena yochal period. The person who watched the fig tree, he's the one who's going to eat the fruits of that tree. Your children sat and they didn't learn Torah from the way they might have. Yoshua, your Talmud, Harbe Sharoscha, he served you. Harbe Cholak L'Chavkavai, he gave you a lot of honor. He was there early and stayed till late in the Beis HaMedrash. And he's the one who straightened out the benches, and he's the one who put out, they used to sit on the ground with pieces of leather in front of the Rebbe. He used to straighten that out. And if he served you that way, then he should serve Klal Yisrael. What's the beer? What are these different things in the Medrash? Darshan, every little added sign, every little crown, and every letter in the Torah, which is what Moshe Rabbeinu saw in Shamayim, and he asked HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's the birth. And one year he was sitting by the shmooze, and when the Chavetz Chaim finished the shmooze, one of the other people said the Chavetz Chaim said the same shmooze last year. And Rav Chanan said, no, he said 8 more words this year. Everything that Moshe Rabbeinu did was important to Yeshua because he knew that Achutz the learner and Achutz the shir, but every movement of Moshe Rabbeinu, every word that he said, every action that he did, that was important. Mashkin Umarid is simple. That's Hasmada. He got up early, he was early to learn, he stayed late. There's another Reikon of Hasmada. Chaim Shmulevitz used to say that a masmid is not necessarily a person who learns 18 hours a day. It is a person who learns 60 minutes an hour. The kind of hasmada that when I'm sitting and learning, when I'm involved in Torah, I'm totally involved in Torah. And I use every minute of that time for limud Torah, that is hasmada. So Yeshua was a masmid. And he was Masader Misafson. He used to straighten out the Beis Medrash. And there are stories about the day of Chaim Volozhin used to keep for himself the kavod of sweeping out the yeshiva in Volozhin. And what's the understanding? What's that supposed to mean? What's the big one? Chaim Volozhin could have spent his time learning. And Chaim Volozhin used to say that a person who learns an easier limud when he could have learned more beginning is also bittul Torah. So he was very, very careful about his hasmada not to do bittul Torah. He used to sweep out the Beis Medrash. What's so important about that? I have a chaver in Eretz Yisrael, Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sofer, the great-grandson of the Kappa Chaim. And we were walking together in yeshiva, and we had the Gavaldiga Rebbe, Rav Nachum Lessman Zechron Lebrach, who was from the Gedolei Mir of Europe in Shanghai. Nachum once said about Chaim Sofer, he loves Torah. How do I know that he loves Torah? He smiles as much at somebody else's chiddush as he does at his own chiddush. Avas HaTorah, how do you know that your love for Torah is not love for my Torah, for what I'm doing, for what I'm understanding, and be machadish for the chiddush that I can say, that it's love for Torah is when a person is as happy and involved with somebody else's chiddush as he is with his own. That's the point that Yeshua was Masader L'Safsolim. That his involvement for Torah was not only his limud Torah. He wanted every year to have the maximum Torah they could. And if he could arrange the benches, and he could be Masader the Matzoloi, so when people came in the morning to Moshe Shir, they could sit down immediately to learn, and learn more, and not be bothered by something else. And if they were bothered, they wouldn't find one, and their mind would be off of it, and they wouldn't be thinking. No, this way everything is ready for them to get involved. All of that is Gadol Shimusha Yeser Milimuda. When you become a bar mitzvah, the first foundation of everything is limud Torah. Baruch Hashem, You're not going to have other problems you have to worry about. Nothing's going to take you away from it. You don't have to support a family. You have any other worries on your mind. And your father and mother make sure you don't have anything else that's going to take you away from your ability to sit and to learn and to shtay and to love Torah, smut in your Torah and to love Yadam's Torah. That is the foundation. That's the way a person shtays. That's the first step of our mitzvah. And I know your kaiches, and I know from another source that when you learn with your chavrus at night over the phone, that you got into a machlokes with him exactly what's the pshat that Rebbe said in the Gemara would have come out this way and that way, and your mother's reaction was, he sounds like he's in a base medrash because you love Torah that much. That's the haskalah, that's the beginning, and that everything else would be built. There's another medrash, the beginning of Dvarim. It says, Eila Dvarim, these are the words. So the Gemara says it's fitting for Moshe Rabbeinu to be the one that reprimanded Klal Yisrael, which is the whole beginning of Dvarim, reprimanding Klal Yisrael for what they did. Why is it fitting for Moshe Rabbeinu? Because Moshe Rabbeinu, that I never took anything from anybody else. Therefore, I have no negias, there's no bribery here, I have no favorites. Everything I say is pure for the good of Klal Yisrael. It's fitting for him to be Mashiach Klal Yisrael. Then it says, it's fitting for Yisrael to say, after Yadati Ki Gadol Hashem. Yisrael says, I know that Hashem is the greatest. Why is it fitting for Yisrael? Because Yisrael tried every Avodah Zarah in the world. And if he tried every Avodah Zarah in the world, he can factually and actually and knowingly say that all of it is nothing and this is the only true Hashem. It's fitting for Shlomo HaMelech to say Hevel Avol. Because Shlomo HaMelech was the richest king there ever was. As a kesef, not V'yitein HaMelech as a kesef Yishlayim Ka'avodim. Silver in Yerushalayim was like stones. It was all over the place. A person who is rich can say Hevel Avol and that it doesn't mean anything. What the Medrash is saying is that somebody who doesn't know anything, somebody who's never been there, somebody who's never experienced it, and then tries to tell you what to do, what's he talking about? Who says he knows what he's talking about? Somebody who's been there, somebody who's experienced it, and he tells you something, then you listen because he knows what he's talking about. Baruch Hashem, your Zaycha, your father and your grandfather are people who are there. If your grandfather tells you something about Limud HaTorah, about being Yoshev in the Beis HaMedrash, about Avos HaTorah, about Yerushalayim, he's there. And you know you have somebody to listen to that when he tells you something, it means it. And when your father tells you about how to deal with people, Ish Lefi Rucho, everybody according who he is, and how you can deal with 50 different people, 50 different ways, and feel what this one needs and what this one needs, and give him that, and this one's a little stronger, this one's a little softer. And if he tells you how to do those things, you can listen to him because he's there. And that's a great, great, great bracha, to take the kaiches that you have, together with that hadracha that your grandfather and your father, what they want from you, what they want to instill in you, what they try to instill in you, to listen and to use that and to begin from today to grow to your kaiches. That's the biggest bracha you can have. It's the biggest bracha they can have. It's the biggest bracha that they all wish for. And I wish that all of their brachas should be miskayim the way it says in the parsha. Moshe Rabbeinu said that HaKadosh Baruch Hu should be Yosef Lochem Elef Pa'amim. That Klal Yisrael should increase 1,000 times. And there's a time, why did he limit it to 1,000 times? So there's a vart, Gomer Thomas from Akiva Eger, doesn't mean 1,000 times what you are. There's the story of the person who came to the king and taught him a new game called chess. showed the king the game, the ministers and everybody was spoiled. What a wonderful, wonderful game. It has been for thousands of years already. And they wanted to reward him. What do you want for your reward? He says, well, what I'd like is 1 grain of wheat on the first square of the chessboard. And then double that on the second square. Double that. And then multiply that by itself on the third square. And when you fill up the whole board, that'll be my reward. And the ministers laugh. He can make games, but he doesn't know much else. So when you start multiplying what you have by itself, and you go through 64 pieces on the chessboard, it's a plain rod. It's an immense, immense amount. That's the kind of Elef Pa'amim Moshe Rabbeinu meant. Klal Yisrael 600,000, and they should multiply themselves by 600,000 one time, and then they should multiply that by 600,000 another time, and that by 600,000 another time. And when you go through that Elef Pa'amim, that's the infinite brachas that Kodesh Baruch Hu should bestow upon you and your whole mishpachah. Mazel tov, mazel tov.
No further ado, I can introduce the director of our camp and a very close personal friend, Rabbi Yehudah.
There aren't a great deal of rewards that, at least not yet, in the Gashmi sticker world, that my wife and I receive from camp yet. Praise Hashem. As we go along, maybe that will come too. But the fact of the matter is that we've gained a tremendous amount from camp. We gained a tremendous amount from experience, from dealing with the campers, from dealing with the families, but especially and most important to us, and that is beyond any Gashmi stika rewards we could possibly get, is the relationships that we have gained from camp. Baruch Hashem, our senior staff are people who are just phenomenal people who without camp we probably would not have known very well. We feel very grateful to Kadosh Baruch Hu that He has sent into our lives these people. To both Rabbi and Mrs. Krakauer, Rabbi and Mrs. Stock, Rabbi and Mrs. Rosenbaum. I don't know if you but our relationship with Rabbi and Mrs. Schwartz is something that is extremely dear to us. We have, through these 6 years, become extremely close. And through good times and not such good times, we have been by each other and standing there, and it's just, this is extremely important to us. This relationship is very, very much the reward that we've gotten from camp. As such, we've been able to watch Yehudah Leib grow from 6.5 years ago when we first met him till now. And it's just amazing to see how he has grown. Surely physical growth will soon come too. But as a young man today on this bar mitzvah, we can really truly say that he has become a wonderful young man. I've watched him in terms of his learning also. I've watched him in terms of the way he relates with his peers. I see how he relates with other people. I see how he relates even with himself. I watch him as he has always been so inquisitive, always wanting to know what's going on, sometimes too much wanting to know what's going on. I have watched him as he always deals with everybody, savor funny offers. He's always smiling. He's a person who comes And I've never seen him, it's amazing. As much time as I've spent in the Schwartz home and how much time we spent together in camp, I've really never seen him to school. I've never seen him really like blow up or anything. He's a very calm boy. He always smiles to everyone. Doesn't get angry. He asks insightful questions. He's a very bright boy, and I'm sure that he'll continue to use these midos in the right way. He's a very lucky boy. He has much bracha. His parents are wonderful examples to follow. And of course, the grandparents also, who are such wonderful role models for Yehudah. And I just wanted to say that Yehudah should, of course, take to mind these role models seriously. Watch how his grandparents act with other people, what they do with their time. Watch what his parents do with their time, how they act with other people, to learn from these things. I know that in terms of learning, his learning, when he'll continue, of course, learning in Torah, and he'll be growing in Torah, in Yira, and my wife and I truly hope that this relationship we've started with Yehudah will grow, and the relationship between our families will be maintained and grow. May we ask him Shalom.
First of all, praise Him for Lasagna. It's a pleasure always to come to Chaverim. It's truly the place where you meet your friends. Even though some friends came with us from Baltimore, but it's really it's not the first time that I'm here. I've been here before. Even was over here for Shabbos, unforgettable Shabbos, really nice. And I never envisioned when Yehudah Leib was born that the make a mitzvah in Camp Chaverim. The Yehudah has his Rochim and Baruch Hashem. I just want to be Mikatzer and so shortly because it's getting late, we have to get back. This is the Zman of the 9 days, it's the Zman of Avelis. But a lot to do with Sudas Mitzvah, especially a Sudas Bar Mitzvah. The Torah says that the Siva for Volus is Tachas Hashemoivato as Hashem Elokecho B'Simcha V'Toiv Levo V'Roiv Kodesh. That Avodah wasn't the Simcha, even though they might have kept the mitzvahs, but they didn't do the Simcha. It wasn't done with his lavas, was done mitzvahs anoshim u'lumodo, by rote, and because of that, Vavanato Soivecho, etc., and the Golus Chas V'Shom came. So the Bar Mitzvah, the Simchas Bar Mitzvah is Be'emes, the Hebech of that. Rambam says in the end of Hilchos Lulav that Simcha, that mentioned us with the Mitzvah, the Simcha is an Avodah Gedolah, it's not Stam Madrega, it's an Avodah Gedolah. And anyone that doesn't do it, the Simcha already Koramimenu. So the Magi explains that the Indian is that a person has to do mitzvahs. The Avodah of mitzvahs is not just to do it because it's a chiyuv, and God is called out to you and you have to keep your chiyuv, but the Indian is to do it because it's the koiv and it's the right thing to do, and you're convinced of it, and you're the simcha to do it. It's a schus, it's a privilege to be able to Hashem to do mitzvah to learn Torah. So this simcha bar mitzvah Why we make a bar mitzvah is good for us, right? That we have a simcha, that somebody became a bar Yehudah, that from Eina Mitzvah Goyse became a Mitzvah Goyse, and so we almost samech with that, right? The whole avodah is to do avodah Hashem the simcha. So this is the simcha that we celebrate on the bar mitzvah, Yingul, that's learning Torah, that's keeping mitzvahs, now is a Mitzvah Goyse, and this is the avodah the simcha. So we made this is mamish dover that's masakin the goats. That's the tickle of the goats. So it's a very appropriate that in the 9 days Pedavka that there should be such a simcha and to counteract the churban and the goats. Yehudah we know is kishloinis, Yovemis is a little shy, Egel is a barmidas, but in the family we see his waiting for kishloinis, the main heart. And he's always asking to the Zach, he's asking good questions always. He has learning his loves, learning, he loves learning. And I'm sure the mitzvah that he'll do the digbuk, and he'll do the simcha. So the ikka is that we should build on that and should continue that way. The best bracha that we could give. Yehudah has a lot of things going for him. The Pasuk says at the end of the parasha, the Olam Netziv, and where the Netziv. It says in the parasha that after Kovesh, the Eva Yardeh, so the Pasuk says, so all Tzazos say the Moshe Rabbeinu describes he says, "Besot azois yorashu beisahi me'avodah amnachal arbe lachatzi agilot b'chovot nosati l'guveinim lagodim." So that land that we captured in Eva Yardeh, we gave over to Reuben and to God. Yeser hagilot, kol ha'bosham amnachas oik, and the rest of the gilot, the other half of gilot. So that we, and the whole Bosham, which is Mamlechas Oil, this we gave Nosati Lachatzi Shevet HaMenashe. And it describes the whole land as Oil Melech HaBosham and half of Gilon. And then it goes right to say the Oil HaMenashe, Mochim Nosati Gilon, Muveni Lagodi Nosati Min HaGilon HaNachlo Amo, and then it describes right again what was given to Reuben and to Shevet God. So why did he start with Reuben and God? He gave the land to Reuben and God, and then he went up to Chatzi Shevet Menashe, and then he goes back again to Reuben and God. Because what's the tachocha in there? What is the busa that Moshe Rabbeinu wants to give with Hashem? What land? What's the difference? Zweitens also, we find he says that there was a tnai made with Reuben and God that there have to be oil chalutzim. And they were on that night they'll get Eva Yardeh. With Menashe there was no such condition. They're getting the Eretz Oigma Chabosha regardless. What's the shot? He says that the Indian is that Moshe Rabbeinu wants to give the Techocha. Why did Moshe Rabbeinu give? We don't see in the Pasha that Menashe asked for the land. He didn't want it. He didn't ask. Why did Moshe Rabbeinu give references to Yerushalmi says that Bikulim, you don't bring from Eva Yardeh. From Eva Yardeh, you don't bring Bikulim. So the Yerushalmi says two times. One time is because that's the other one is that Hashem li Hashem. It says by Bikulim, Hashem li B'loshen Otalti. The land like God gave us that we took. Right? Reuben and God took. So the Yerushalmi says in Afsmin two times is the land of Chatzi Shevet Menashe. If the time is that Eva was followed with Bosh, Eva Yad is not so was followed with Bosh. But if the time is because Asher Nosatu Li Hashem V'Loshe Notalti, so Menashe was also Nosati, it wasn't Notalti, it was Api Hashem, it was given. So the pshat is, he says, why did Moshe Rabbeinu want that Menashe should be there? Because Moshe Rabbeinu was afraid that there's a lack of Torah in Eva Yad. And he brings it over to Abnos, and he says that the Shoyden used to say, Dogam is Yehudah, Tevin is Golden, Moitz is Be'ema Yadeh, which is the remnants of Torah. That Torah is Shvach in Eba Yadeh. There's a lack of Torah. So he wanted that there should be, with the Reuben and God, there should be Talmidei Chachamim, there should be Rosh Yeshivas. There's psukim to the effect that from Menashe there were Rosh Yeshivas, the Choynikim. So they should be madrif the Reuben and God, that they should be made by Torah and they should have the chizuk of the Torah. So that was the koch of Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu says, wants to teach Klal Yisrael, be bind, the person has to live in the Makom to be amongst the Talmidei Chachamim, that before he was able to be Mechalek, right? He said, this land we gave Reuben and God. But before it could be Mechalek, it had to get here a Shevet of Talmidei Chachamim in order to give him the Maaseh to Reuben and God. So before so this land they wanted, and this land we're going to give. But once we asked him to give it, now we have to find a Shevet that should be willing to settle there, Talmidei Chachamim, that should settle there to be amongst the Reuben and God. So Mele says he gave a very big amount of land, much more than Reuben and God, relatively speaking, for half a Shevet, the whole land of Oikar Chabosha, because he wanted to entice them to move there. And also it would be easier for them to be able to work better, and in Mele, they'll be willing to settle there, and that will be the chizuk and that's all. But without that, he wouldn't give the land to Reuben and God. So myself, Yehudah, deserved to be in the family of Torah. His father, his mother, they wanted to learn. The whole shivas were learning. The whole shivas were kima mitzvahs. He's exposed to Talmidei Chachamim, his Rabbeim, the Mokum Torah. So he has a lot going for him. So the Bachi, they should always be made in the Mokum Torah, should always be amongst Talmidei Chachamim, and you should grow on what you have, and your chayches, and your kishoynes, and so then I wish you all the brachos. Should have a kiyur. When you go, be going and one at a time.
They don't